Well, good morning, Kicksters, and welcome to Thursday's edition of The Morning Kick. And if you like the background, that's because my plans this weekend are actually to get away for a long weekend. It's been a long time coming. My wife has got an opportunity to take Monday off, and so we have booked some time out. And isn't it good that a lot of us are actually starting to think beyond the boundaries of our home property and think about where we might go? Domestic travel is on the up. We can actually have a look at all the options. We've got the People's Weekend coming up in August. So there you go. It's time to actually start venturing into travel. And as we think about travel, I want to welcome to the show two guys that are going to make us into three guys. And this is Yann Charavel and Andrew Hager from Viva Travel. Guys, welcome this morning to the Morning Kick. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Morning, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Now, you guys are in Brisbane, and we're going to tell quite a journey. The travel industry has taken quite a hit, obviously, during COVID-19, but you guys have jumped in boots and all, and wanted to hear a little bit about your backstory. First of all, tell us, how did the two of you actually meet? What was the thing that brought you together for this business venture?
We met, we worked together. So Yann was working for a consulting firm that I joined in, I think it was mid-2017 from memory. So we worked together for about 18 months, and I left the company, and we stayed in touch after that, and the idea sort of came about from that.
And Yann, was there always a hankering to get into travel, or was it just a business venture? What was actually the thing that was magnetizing you towards this particular industry?
Yeah, I started looking at businesses early last year. And I had a number of industries I was focusing on, and I kept in touch with Andrew over the years. And then probably around a beer, we had a discussion, and he was also interested in looking at businesses. He's got a background in tourism, so for him, it made sense to look at tourism businesses. And we came up with a few opportunities that we uncovered together. So yeah, we decided to partner on that special occasion.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, one of the things we want to remind people of on the Morning Kick is that at the moment, the Queensland government is still offering small businesses grants. And it's interesting that the regional side of the grant in this particular round is still open. It's only been subscribed about 40-odd%. So if you're in regional business, and maybe it's in regional tourism, now's the time to get onto that grant. Go to Excite Media's website, and when you get there, just simply have a look at the green banner that's at the top of the page, and there's a button there, and you'll be able to apply for one of those $10,000 grants. But this morning we're here to talk about a little business that's kicking off by the name of Viva Travel. And I want to talk to you guys about this business, because this is something that you are kind of putting all your enthusiasm into and all of your expertise at a time when the whole industry's taken a real hit. So Viva Travel, it's an agency based in Brisbane. Can you tell us about its specialties and where it operates?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's got three sort of core markets to Viva Travel. The strongest element to that, and I guess its core business, is focusing on destination weddings. So we are a sort of a one-stop shop for all events of a destination wedding. So we do the wedding planning, we do all the travel agency services and the wedding coordination. The two other sides are looking at sort of high-end luxury travel and bespoke itineraries, which is a little bit difficult in the current market when you can't travel overseas. But it's really that I want to go to South America for a month, or I want to go through Europe for a month, that type of market. And the third element, which was Yann and I's sort of growth plan, is looking at corporate travel for, particularly for small, medium businesses, and focusing on the employee wellness aspect of that. So looking at how do small and medium businesses provide an offering to employees to mix that corporate and leisure aspect of travel to improve employee wellness.
It's a great idea, and I love the fact that you've got that diversification and the destination weddings side of things. Obviously, that would be a real hub and being able to generate business. But at the moment, obviously, not only travel, but weddings have been struggling in terms of all of their organisations and things. So are you still taking inquiries? Are customers still talking to you about plans beyond COVID-19?
Yeah, very much for the wedding side, absolutely. So I think we're probably getting about 3 or 4 inquiries a week at the moment for weddings. The holiday side is a little bit slower at the moment. I think people are a little conscious of committing to a holiday with internationally, particularly with some of the border restrictions.
So, yeah, tell me about the whole idea of travel at the moment. Is there conversation happening with the suppliers? Is there conversation happening with the aviation industry? How are you guys keeping informed about when doors will start to open up again?
Yeah. When when we talk about the future, everyone is betting on when people will be able to travel. Obviously, what's happening currently in Australia, people are really keen to start traveling within Australia. Obviously, people in Victoria will have a bit more delay in starting traveling. Um, in terms of traveling overseas, this is the big question for the travel industry. And yeah, you see in the news some airlines are starting putting some resources together to think about where to travel next. Government is also thinking about what are the travel bubble they can start opening with other countries. There's a lot of uncertainty, and obviously it goes from suppliers to customers to wonder what's going to be next, and that impacts all the travel agents at the moment because there is a lack of certainty, and we remain there is a lot of resources online to be able to look at what are the restrictions with other countries, and they change all the time. So on our website, there is a page where you can look at what are the country's restrictions. But yeah, we monitor that on a day-to-day basis, and we advise our customers as well.
So I understand that there's been lots of talk about countries like a bubble between Australia and New Zealand, and that would open up opportunities maybe out of Brisbane and Sydney. And I even heard that out of Asia, there may be countries such as Vietnam that we may be able to create a bubble with. Is that the kind of thing that you're getting updates on fairly regularly to be able to inform clients?
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly monitoring the situation through government bodies, through things like IATA, the International Air Traffic Association. It's changing daily, as I'm sure you're aware. But look, we think the concept of a travel bubble probably is going to come about. I guess the timing of when and which particular countries is the one that's probably a little bit unknown. And the thing for us moving forward is it's probably the conditions of travel under that bubble may be different to what we've seen in the past as well. So it's really up to us as agents to ensure that we're informing our clients of, if there is a bubble that opens up to New Zealand or Japan or Fiji, for example, what conditions do you need to meet to be able to participate in that bubble. And I think something moving forward, that's something our clients are going to be looking for us to provide that insight to.
Now, if you're actually watching this on the replay, definitely visit vivatravel.com.au to find out more about Andrew and Yann's business and to book a travel package, obviously. But if you're right now on our Excite Media Facebook page or YouTube channel, you can ask any questions you like, and we'll forward them on to the guys so we can find out a little bit more. But I want to look about the timing of you guys getting into the travel industry. So you were pretty much wrapping this whole business package up and signing the dotted line. This is in kind of November 2019. And this is just when, around December, January is when this whole COVID thing is starting to hit. Did you hear anything, or was it really into 2020 before you knew what was going on?
I think
It was
a bit like,
there you go, Yann.
yeah,
Sorry.
it was, look, obviously, with hindsight, it was an interesting timing to get into travel. But and even remembering in January, February, even March, and I was traveling. I came back from Japan, I think early February. At the time, we started only in Australia, wondering what would be the impact of this coronavirus, and nobody could foreseen the impact globally, and let alone the impact on the travel industry. I think the key moment was when the airline stopped flying overseas and then stopped flying internally. That was obviously the trigger that wasn't the right timing for the travel industry.
I think I'd probably add to that.
How did you actually kind of steel yourself against what you were seeing coming?
It's look, it was difficult. I mean, to sort of expand to what Jan was saying, we were sort of sitting here in February, thinking that the South Pacific business was looking good. That's a lot of where our destination weddings were. But then that time when the international borders were shut was probably the turning point for us, and so it really makes us sort of reevaluate, obviously, our business plan. We have been planning this for sort of 6 months, looking at how we're going to grow the business, how we're going to expand the corporate side. So it really was a moment for us both to step back and say, okay, well, what do we need to do moving forward? We had to look at our cash flow situation, obviously, revise all of our forecasts, revise our plans. So it was really just a reevaluation approach to what we've done, to what we had already planned, to look at what do we need to do differently, what do we need to stop doing. And one of the things for us, and hence why we started talking to Excite early on, is we felt we needed a new brand and a new website, and that was something key for us that we couldn't stop. We needed to push ahead with that. So at the time when people do feel comfortable traveling, we've got a brand that we're happy with, that represents what the position and what the value proposition of our business is moving forward.
And I guess there was probably a bit of uncertainty in certain parts of the market, but there are people who are saying, I'm never going to cruise again. And there are people that are saying, I'm cruising as soon as the doors open. So you'd be getting both kind of conversations happening with the public, wouldn't you? There'd be people that are saying, how do I cancel and how do I get my credit refund? And those that are saying, guys, when can I take a travel somewhere? I just can't stay at home. How are you handling the conversation with the public?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one, and Jan can expand further. I think that it's looking at, okay, where was our client or going or potentially wanting to go to, what position they're in personally. Like, everyone's impacted by COVID, not just the travel industry, obviously. So there are some people that have had to, have lost their jobs, and it's very difficult for them. So it's looking at what is right for our client moving forward. Can we provide a refund if we can get the money back from a supplier? Absolutely, we'll provide that refund. If not, will they hold it in credit, and we'll use that as towards their next holiday. Even if they're not going to get married anymore, we'll use it to a honeymoon or a holiday moving forward, even if it's domestically.
Yeah, any further thoughts on how the public are responding to travel?
Yeah, we see a bit two trends where some people who are keen travelers have been stuck at home for the last 4-6 months for not traveling, and they're really keen to travel. And we can see that already now, where as soon as the Queensland border have opening, we're starting having requests for how to from Sydney and Melbourne, but obviously Melbourne can't travel on that. And there are another group of people who have been impacted severely by this period and have probably lost a lot of revenue and have been strained in terms of planning for travel. So I think all in all, it will be very similar to the market that we had before COVID. I think the market may be a bit different, but yeah, some people will still be keen to travel.
Talking about the blunt stuff that we know about, the travel industry for years has very much been about cash flow and getting as many people through the door as possible. And we've seen over the last 12 months, there's been escape travel that had trouble last year. This year, we're talking about Flight Centre was having to close some retail stores. Obviously, it affects even the aviation industry, such as Virgin Australia, having to secure new buyers and things. How do you guys see Viva Travel going through this? Is there a period of time that you can survive, but you've kind of got to draw a line in the sand? How does it affect more of a local business involved in the travel industry?
Yeah, it's a great question. And one of the things that we had to do pretty early on is just completely revise our cash forecast to the point where we had to strip out any forecasted revenue. So the way we recognize revenue in the business is you effectively claim a commission on the trip, and it's at the point of travel. So when people can't travel anymore, there's no commission to claim, and therefore your cash flow forecast moving forward is effectively zero. So we had to look and say, okay, what is our cost base? Strip it right back and say, what are the things that are discretionary that we really don't need to spend right now? We're lucky in the fact that we're an online-based business, so we don't have overheads like rent and electricity and things like that. So that helped. But we really, and Yann and I actually now have a a weekly cash flow forecast that goes out until, I believe it's the end of June at the moment, to look at exactly what our expenses are. And then as we start to get people traveling domestically, recognizing, okay, we might get some commission through trips. So looking at how does that improve our cash flow? And we look at things like, JobKeeper subsidy, obviously. The small business grant you talked about earlier, we were really lucky enough to be one of the first businesses in Queensland to get that first friend of small business grant that we use towards the website. So anything like that obviously helps moving forward as well.
That's brilliant. And Jan, when I went to your website, I see that the escape section of your website has got a focus on going to Australian destinations. So a good opportunity for people to be able to look locally. And although you've kind of been tantalizingly sold to that you should go overseas to have a holiday, there's lots of amazing locations here at home.
Yeah, and I think the focus, the hashtag stay in Australia is quite strong, especially after between the bushfires and COVID. Australians are really keen to travel and stay local to rebuild some of those communities. Obviously, with the international borders closed, there will be a lot more focus on the domestic market. What we're trying to do is trying to differentiate from other websites providing destination locally, which is trying to look at what our customers are telling us about where they want to go, and trying to build an experience that is slightly different. So incorporating some of the door-to-door that we thought about, where we provide the ability of the customer to be taken care of from their front door. So when they leave to when they return, not having to worry about booking some taxi and making sure there is some babysit for the family. So it's all taken care of. Plus, we know that our customers like to have experiences and activities when they travel. So we package things around the experience more than as well as the destination. So that's our way to differentiate ourselves.
And if you'd like to know more about that offer that Jan's just talking about, go to the Viva Travel Facebook page, which is simply facebook.com travel with Viva. Just pop it up there so you can see. And there's a post that's talking about this new extensive private car door-to-door service. Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about the initiative and what I actually get? How does it work with my package?
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea came about, it was Jan's idea actually about a month ago, where we were looking at what are some of the frustrations when people are traveling, and it's one of the key ones, particularly for if it's a business travel or even a family, it's getting the taxi to arrive on time if you're going to the airport, or coming home and you've had a long flight and then jumping in the car to come home, and it really takes away from the travel experience. So we turned that into an opportunity to say, how do you add to that travel experience? So we actually came up with the concept of this door-to-door private sort of VIP service, where you will be met at the front door, taken in a private car to the airport, have your luggage handled for you. So it really is to try and remove one of the less fun parts of the travel experience, really, to try and turn that challenge into an opportunity for customers. So it really adds to the experience.
And there you go. If you go to the vivatravel.com.au website under the blog, you'll find out more details and be able to touch base with the guys to find out more. As you guys are looking at the future, you've obviously got a staff, you're working with your suppliers and things. What kind of other activities are you doing beyond websites and things to actually get the word out? I remember when we first started the conversation, when you guys were just getting the business underway, you were talking to supply partners overseas and things. Is it a case of doing the old door knocking, talking to corporates about the corporate travel? What's happening within the wedding industry, for instance? Are they still talking and having expos? Could you give us a bit of an insight into what other business development a travel agency might be doing at this time?
I'll leave this one to Andrew.
Okay, you want me to? Okay. Yeah, look, we're doing a range of things, obviously. So obviously, the key thing for us was getting our website and our brand out there. We really wanted something that we felt comfortable that articulated the value proposition, which I sort of spoke about earlier. But there are a range of things happening across those various markets. Obviously, the international one, particularly in the bespoke itinerary, is on a bit of a hold at the moment. But if we look at the weddings business and we look at corporate, And even domestically, we're doing a range of things. So the weddings business is still, as I said earlier, it's still doing reasonably well inquiry-wise. So we are getting a lot of inquiries where we're branching out our market there through social is a really big channel in the wedding space. So we do a lot on social media through bridal groups. Traditionally, we've done bridal shows. They're sort of put on hold at the moment. We engage directly with suppliers, and we negotiate with suppliers and get referrals from them as well. The corporate side is a key growth market for us from a business development point of view. So Yann and I have got a strategy that we're looking at for the business, for the corporate side, that includes some technology-driven solutions to help with the booking process in particular. And then beyond that, we're also working with a couple of tech startups to look at how do we develop technology to really help the experiential side of travel. So looking at how do we have like a travel preference type solution where you can enter your preferences, and this is beyond corporate, this sort of goes to destination focus, but what are your travel preferences in terms of, is safety important to you? What do you like from a weather point of view? Do you like sandy beaches, that sort of thing? And then it can actually prompt you and go, look, these are some of the destinations that meet your preferences, and here are some of the deals or packages that we have. And then the other side is having an app that's really focused on consumer engagement. So it's an app where you'll have a lot of travel apps have your standard sort of itinerary on there, but then this is a group focused app. So particularly for weddings, all of your wedding guests can be added to this particular app. You can talk to each other before travel. You can share photos while you're there. You can look up local activities. So it's really again, we're trying to really improve the experiential side of travel. So it's not just about the booking process. It's not just about the holiday itself. We actually want, from the moment you contact us through the moment you return, that whole focus on how do we improve the customer experience when you're booking a holiday. We want the holiday to really, the excitement to start from when you first contact us. And it could be a wedding, it could be travel, it could even be corporate, but from the first moment you contact us to really when you return, that's really what we're trying to drive the focus on.
Well, I think one of the things that a lot of businesses realize, and travel's no exception, is that people do think ahead. And sometimes there's a buying cycle between when I think of the idea and when I act on the idea. And the funny thing is, travel's something that we've all been planning towards for years. We're thinking about the cruise for the 60th birthday next year. We're talking about the trip to the islands because we've got some kind of celebration that we want to do. So I guess now is actually the time to be talking to a travel agent, isn't it? You're actually planning for the end of the year or beginning of next year. You can still start those conversations and start living the dream, even if it's a little bit virtual for the time being. Yann, have you talked to anybody recently that's got that attitude and is planning ahead?
Yes, we as Andrew mentioned, for the wedding side, we have requests until 2023. From a cruise and trip, I think people are still a bit wondering when international travel are opening. We do have conversation, and everything we do is trying to inspire our customers on where they could go next, and how they could get there. And you're right, people are always wondering where is the next travel, right? Regardless of where they are now. I think it's part of our role is also to provide ongoing communication with those customers to make sure that they're aware where they could go and what are the opportunities they can face.
Well, I'm sure during this whole COVID-19, there's going to be plenty of itchy feet out there, and it may not be just because we've had sand between our toes. Maybe there is actually the idea that we can actually start planning that dream itinerary, whether it's a bucket list item, whether it's something just to celebrate the end of COVID-19. I'd encourage you to reach out to Viva Travel, have a talk to Andrew, to Yann, to their team, find out more about what travel opportunities that you have. Even if you're not certain about when the aviation side of things is going to open up, you can actually start planning what you're going to do. They can put you in touch with all the different tourism opportunities, the accommodation opportunities, and actually show you what the possibilities may be. So, guys, thanks very much for joining us on The Morning Kick, giving us a bit of an insight into your journey. I think it's incredibly courageous what you're doing, and you just wouldn't have seen this coming, but you have still kind of kept yourself focused on delivering a great customer experience. I'm loving hearing about the technology, and we want to wish you well from all the team here at Excite Media. You're doing an amazing job. Thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
Well, what a great couple of guys, and just have to admire what they're doing. And I do encourage you to go and visit vivatravel.com.au, make them your point of focus to get your itchy feet looking at the road ahead and what you might be able to do with your travel experience. Now, just keep in mind the grant for the situation with the Queensland government is still open in southeast Queensland, but more particularly in regional Queensland. So if you get an opportunity, go to our website at excitemedia.com.au, click on the button on the green ribbon, and you'll be able to find out more. And I look forward to seeing you next week on Morning Kick on Tuesday.